Hello everybody, Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the World Class Championship Wrestling Review series. This is a sad episode as it is the tribute to David Von Erich, who has passed less than a month before, just less than a month, on February 10th, 1984. The episode will be short because there is not a lot of first run, if any, run wrestling material, so not much for me to cover, but suffice to say, from 1977 to 1984, David Von Erich, probably the most decorated guy never to win the NWA Championship during that time, maybe. Certainly a babyface who was in contention for it several times, and there's been debate for literally the last 35 plus years about whether David would have gotten that championship or not, but obviously his passing due to questionable circumstances. Some say drug overdose, some say intestine issues, some say heart attack. Regardless, he passed too young at only 25, and they paid tribute to him this week. A music video covering his life, including high school and childhood pictures, starts first. Harley Race comments next, as we see a match with Harley, and I'm assuming it's from before 1982, as the highlight clips do have a less than normal announcer doing the announcing, who is unnamed, but it's also the match where David first used the Iron Claw, made famous by his father, and Harley Race is the champion, so we're talking 70s here. Obviously a good highlight there. We move into a comment by Harley Race. Harley Race talks about how he feels that had David survived, he would have been a former NWA, later NWA champion. Talks about his battles with David and the fact that he completely respects the man in every possible way. And that he had everything it took, the athletic ability, the mind, the dedication. Harley doesn't really play a babyface role here, but he certainly does walk that line because of the real-life nature of things. Then we see highlights from a Jimmy Garvin match, and he pays respects to, in a very short, less than 60-second promo, talking about knowing David and what a loss it is for his fans, for his family, and talks about him being a competitor, talks about him being, a big deal, and you can see that when this is recorded, he is quite somber. Then we see what is really weird looking back at it from a kayfabe perspective. 36 years, 37 years ago, for Michael PSAs, who is in the midst of the Freebirds Von Erich feud, to even take 60 seconds to put over David Von Erich as a warrior, a guy who he respected because he fought for what he believed in, even though that does not mean the Freebirds Von Erich feud is over, was just so well done, because in the world of kayfabe, you can understand the idea of the mastery of the psychology, where he never says, I liked you, but I respected you, and the fans in Texas still can hate the Freebirds, but have to momentarily go through their grief that even the worst enemy of David Von Erich, or worst enemies in the Freebirds, had the respect enough to regard his passing. Obviously, in the real world, that would be what's done, but in a world full of kayfabe, just an interesting thing. Ric Flair doesn't say much, but he is up next. He remembers David as a fierce competitor. He says he doesn't know him well, only knew him as a competitor, but had respect and admiration for him, and is sorry for the loss. David Manning, head official of World Class, speaks about him next. Said he refs many of the matches, if not more than any referee in the World Class area of the matches of David Von Erich. Said he'll be sadly missed. Manning and Bill Mercer, both family friends. They then talk about how David wanted to be a cowboy and acknowledged his love of horses, family, ranching, farming, and the like in a, I guess you'd say, another mini music video. Then they sit down with an over-the-shoulder camera shot as the Von Erichs cope with the loss of their brother. They talk a little bit too much wrestling here on the ranch, talk about honoring David's memory and all of that, but turn it into one of them needing to be the champion. The next two segments are also religiously heavy, as the nature of the belief that David is with God, and that being what pulls the family through. One of them has to acknowledge, or the family has to acknowledge, even wife, I believe her name is Doris, is there too, and the three boys and also the youngest, Mike is there. I think there's another one of the youngest might be there somewhere. But anyway, regardless, Fritz is heavy on the Christianity and talking about in his personal segment the loss of the firstborn son, Jack Jr., very young, couple of years before David's birth, all those years ago, and talking about knowing the nature of faith and that David is now in heaven, etc., and so forth. Understanding Texas being a very strong Christian area, I can understand why they would do this. They close with another music style tribute, and that is the extent of the March 3rd, 1984 edition. Classy, well done factor, and I think in a world where the Von Erichs were rock stars, they were the Beatles of pro wrestling in Texas, to put it in perspective, or the Elvis Presley. I think you had to do something like this. I don't know that with the next Von Erich death a few years later, I don't know, because I haven't seen if they do the same. But needless to say, well done tribute here, and rest in peace, David Von Erich. Till next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.